Hello, everyone. This is Tom, your host for the Hidden Truths channel. Hope everybody's having a fine evening. This live stream is going to be about questions about the assassination attempt at the White House Correspondents' Dinner after the hotel footage was released and we got the whole view of what happened in that hallway. And we're going to talk about the United States becoming a third world country because we're heading in that direction. And there's a few things I want to discuss why I say that and how hard it's going to be. So anyway, that's what we're going to discuss on tonight's live stream. One thing I want to discuss, YouTube does a lot of censorship. And I can understand, those thin-skinned people that own those platforms, if I say something that offends them and stuff, politically or whatever, I deal with that, right? But when I try to warn people about what's coming, when I make it short about what we're dealing with the fields not being planted, basically your food supply that your city receives, when I make shorts about that, the realistic, what's actually going on, it's May 5th now. And the fields around here haven't been planted yet. They haven't even been worked yet. Okay? We finally got some moisture. We basically gone 7 months with less than 2 inches of moisture. We never had a winter this year. And, so maybe with this moisture, a couple of days of slow rain, and maybe some more rain on Friday, next week they'll get out in the fields. But that's just going to get them out of the crops out of the ground. We still need moisture to, make them grow. And the cattle are getting hit just as bad because the pastures ain't got no grass in them. Ranchers have excess hay from last year, what they stock up, and they'll be feeding hay to the cows in the pastures till July. Okay, but if they don't get a hay crop this year, we're going to feed them over the winter. Anyway, I do a video about that, a short, and that gets shadow banned too. This is how bad they don't want you to know the truth. This is how bad they want you to. The social media platforms are in cahoots with the federal government. Doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican, to try to hide the truth from you. We're not getting planted. And it's not only here. I've watched videos of people in Virginia, farmers in Virginia. Okay, this country makes a lot of food, but we definitely ain't going to have no food to export this year. And if they sit there and we're going to have a gas shortage, so they're going to burn more of our corn in our gas tanks, convert more of the corn to ethanol instead of feeding the cattle and feeding us, it's just a recipe for a really bad time. But when I make it short to show people that, it's best to start a garden. Because if we can't plant our fields, I guess I would be planting a garden. We've had an abundance in this country for many, 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 many decades. Okay? And we may be facing a 7-year shortage or whatever, a biblical shortage. But the cattle, we just had a big old huge fire north of us that took out a bunch of pasture land this spring. It was so dry. And the cows had calved, and the calves, they just let open the gates up, and the cows went running through the gates, and the calves were so freaked out, they were running into the flames. Nothing you could do about it. And one thing about here in Nebraska, the biggest cattle-producing county in the country is not Texas or Oklahoma. It's Cherry County, Nebraska. Used to work on a ranch up there. Yeah, it's a big county, but they're dealing with fires. All this ranch land here. Nebraska has a lot of beef in it. They had a lot of corn. But out here, we ain't getting much. So I just made it short to try to warn people, and YouTube shadow bans that. That's how much they want you to starve. They don't even want you to hear the truth. With a few questions I got about the assassination attempt. Okay? Anybody seen that hotel video that the hotel cameras picked up? You know, the one with the, you see what's happening before he ran through? Cool here, number one. Anyway, see that video? I appreciate everybody being here. And yes, I say hi. And like you say, I always say, hit the subscribe, the thumbs up, and the bell notification, anything to help the channel grow. Because they are trying to silence any truth from coming out until you follow narrative. And this is one thing, my questions about the assassination attempt. After seeing this video, like I said, as a Marine, I may have stood guard on a few security checkpoints in my time. But what I saw there, let's just hit the highlight before we hit the guy, okay? You got three cops or whatever leaning against the wall. You got like two cops, Secret Service, that are bent over on the floor, I don't know, doing maintenance to a metal detector. Really? The president's in there and you're doing maintenance? And I'm sure these guys are qualified to do that. And you got another guy on the other side of the hallway that took the shot, that probably shot the bullet that hit the other cop, bulletproof vest. But anyway, he's just kind of leaning up against the wall. I mean, the president, you know, the whole chain of command is in the next room, and that's how lax that shit is? Okay, that's what's going on, right? And then this guy, the assassin, walked up to a room, okay? I don't know if it was a closet or a bathroom, whatever, just before the checkpoint. You've all seen the video. And he goes in there. You can't really see the gun, you know. I was looking, could you see the gun? Whatever. You know what? A stranger comes, there should have been cops all over there. But what happens? A canine cop and his dog follow this guy into the room, right? And you can tell the dog had a reaction. The dog knew something was up, but this cop, who not only did the dog interact with this guy, the cops, you know, basically called the dog off, and then the Secret Service or whatever starts talking to the guy for just a little bit. And then he turns around with his dog. It takes about 2 steps, and all of a sudden this guy runs out of this closet, bathroom, whatever it was, with the gun and stuff, and then everybody's shocked. Nobody's standing in the only access he's got, and those other 2 officers are on the floor with the metal detector doing maintenance. You got 3 of them leaning up against the wall, and then the one that took the shot from the other side of the hallway and missed the guy, I think he's the one who shot the cop in the bulletproof vest. But are you kidding me? Are you kidding? The dog knew something was wrong. And then I watched the video as much as I could, and I watched the canine unit. And if you notice, the first thing you would have done, reaction, spin around and let the fucking dog loose. Right? He actually looked like he bent down to calm the dog. The dog knew something was wrong. Staged, I don't know. Incompetence to the max. Dogs are, this thing, you look at the dog knew something was wrong. And then he called him off. And then he talks to the guy, the cop did, or Secret Service. Turns around, takes 2 steps, and all of a sudden, just like Clark Kent in the opposite way, super assassin comes out of the phone booth and goes ripping through shit. Are you kidding me? Like I say, anybody who's ever worked a security detail, especially a checkpoint, knows that's bullshit. There should have been a guy basically with an automatic weapon right there. And what was the deal with the metal detector on the ground and they're doing surgery to the fucking thing? I mean, remember 1981? Oh, you old people. Remember 1981 when Reagan got shot at? What looked a lot different about that scene compared to what we see these days? Number one, the Secret Service immediately grabbed him and was shoving him in the car. And then what's the other Secret Service agent do? The one that's manning the door. He turns and takes a bullet that would have hit the president. We all saw it. That's not the Secret Service Trump has, or whatever. And then all they can talk about is the ballroom. And then the judge apologizes to this assassin for his treatment or whatever. What about the January 6th protesters? Anybody going to sit there and, oh my gosh. Hi, Tom. So glad to see you. So glad to see you too, Audrey. But who's going to apologize to the January 6th protesters who were forced to take the COVID vaccine, had to live in standards that were illegal to keep American citizens in prison under, okay? Even without a trial. Where's their apology? All I know is they're telling me that, like I said, da-da-da-da, super assassin comes out of his phone booth and boom. Are you kidding me? I mean, not more than 2 seconds after a cop was talking to him and his dog knew something was wrong. Like I say, watch the video all the way to the end and you'll see that canine cop. It looks like he goes down. It looked like the dog wants to take off. Maybe President Trump needs to hire a bunch of fucking dogs. All I know is, like I say, if that wasn't staged, what would they stage it just to get a ballroom? I mean, really? I mean, I can't think of any reason to stage it. But then again, I can't think of any type of incompetence that could have led to such asinine, retarded bullshit. I mean, would you want your life protected by these people? When they sit there and talk to the guy that's going to do the shooting and then walk away and he runs out a super assassin telephone booth? Real serious lack of security, although, yeah. I mean, where's a congressional investigation? I mean, if the president's not being protected properly, where's a congressional investigation to find out what the hell's going on? Like after the Butler thing, hell, this person in charge of the Secret Service had to resign. Remember that? It just, like I say, and he had the 3 cops leaning up against the wall. The only thing you were missing was a Dunkin' Donuts box. And like I say, you got 2 of them on the floor doing some maintenance to a metal detector. Are you kidding me? And nobody's paying attention. I mean, that guy walked in to that room no more than 10 feet in front of that checkpoint, and nobody was paying attention. To take charge of my post, no government property in view. Anyway, I guess they don't teach that in the Secret Service. Anyway, I'd never trust these guys with my life, that's for damn sure. Anyway, that's all I got to say on that. Like I say, I'm not going to say it's staged. But, you know, it was, it was something that was definitely different, okay? And I can see where people think it's staged. What's my personal opinion? I think it was staged. I just don't know why they did it. For a ballroom? Oh, and let's not forget the rich donors who were going to build the ballroom. They're no longer going to build it. So now it's our taxpayer money that's going to pay for it. Boy, government just never gets done spending money, do they? I guess everybody got a raise we didn't know about, right? Boring narcissist. Oh, cool. Hey, I tell you what, I appreciate all you people here that like to insult me, like to call me names. It doesn't really bother me. Like they say, when this all comes to fruition, okay, like I say, my other channel's a lone wolf prepper. I'm not too worried about when stuff gets stupid, especially when you're not surrounded by people and when you're totally dependent. People are totally dependent on everybody else for their livelihood. Like I say, I did that video about the crops not being planted and the cattle being hit, just started to warn people that we got a food issue coming in this country. Okay, I know farmers, and farmers have kids and stuff, and their kids have left, and they're still in agriculture, whether it be livestock auctions or meat packing plants and stuff. And the numbers are down everywhere. Okay, I'm not going to starve out here. Okay? If the cattle were ever to dry up, Ted Turner's got thousands and thousands and thousands of buffalo. So I'll get on my horse and put on my war paint and anyway. But let's talk about the U.S. becoming a third world country, because it's going to happen, people. And what I mean by third world country is our infrastructure sucks. It already does. But you're going to deal with a lot of, garbage won't be getting picked up. Just look at a third world country. Okay? But I heard that Russia is selling its oil, not in dollars no more, but in Chinese yen. See, the whole world knows that our dollar is worthless. And when we ain't got oil to back it up, or we don't got the petrodollar no more, and all those dollars that are being used all over the world that got to be used to sit there and buy oil are going to come back, because these countries aren't going to need that money no more. So it's all going to come back to the United States. And, I tell you what, I think we may see the $1 million bill. Of course, that could never happen here, right? I think we could. Because that money's going to have to be sucked up some way. We're going to have hyperinflation. Where like in Germany, we may take wheelbarrows of money to sit there and buy a loaf of bread. Zimbabwe. Okay, where the dollar completely crashes. To where our military strength throughout the world is over with. We ain't going to be able to have 12 carrier groups anymore. We'll be lucky to have a carrier group for the East Coast, the West Coast, and the Gulf of America. We'll be lucky to have enough of a Navy to have that. One thing, we ain't going to have 185 military bases around the world, whether it be secret or, registered, because we ain't going to have the money. Our military actually, for the longest time, our military will actually be in the United States of America. Okay? Bulk Carrier Group. Camp Thin Wallet. What's Camp Thin Wallet? If I was at Camp Lejeune, I never heard that term, Camp Thin Wallet. But anyway, if you were in the Marines or the military and you traveled, especially a Marine, okay, because you see the worst of the world. When you're in port, yeah, you get to see the best of it. But when you're on exercises and stuff, you see the worst of the world. You know what a third world country looks like. You know what it's like in Somalia with the starving children. You've seen them. You've been in parts of the world where 3 ships pull up to port and there's more prostitutes on the dock than there are Marines and sailors on the ships. Where waiters are working barefoot in dirt floor restaurants. The average American has no idea. I mean, what's it take to spoil us, to sit there and get us, happy and occupied? A hell of a lot more than it would take somebody in Kenya. Okay? You look gay. Oh, funny, funny, funny. Like I said, you can't. What do you do about these people? Like I say, you got to feel sorry for them. Because when all this goes down, they're going to be the ones that are suffer the most. Okay? If you don't prepare for what's happening and you can't see what's happening, and if you ever get sucker punched, all right, you guys are going to get sucker punched. All right? Audrey, you have the power as a moderator to get rid of them people. All you got to do is type on their name, and you'll see the screen pop up. Give them a timeout. Like I say, we got to have intelligence conversations here. We've become a third world country. Do you think these trolls, they're going to be suffering so bad? When we become a third world country, all the little differences we have between us are going to kind of go by the wayside because everybody's just going to be trying to fucking survive. In a third world country, you're either rich or you're poor. There's no middle class at all. Okay? And it's going to happen. I mean, this war with Iran is making it happen. I mean, we were already a weakened nation. And this is just showing how weak we are. How weak our leaders are. How, if the average American is looking at Pete Hexa and Trump and all these people looking at them, Jesus Christ, they sound just as stupid as the Democrats did. Okay, don't you think that Putin has looked at the video from the hotel and thought, maybe that was faked? Okay? You're talking world lead. They're trying to fool the average dumbass American, and all these world leaders that are seeing this shit are seeing that how screwed up America is. That our government, that people would even try to pass this on as believable. That they would pass this on that we're winning the Iranian war, that our dollar is strong, that, how did Trump put it today or yesterday, that the United States is doing better financially than it's ever done. Are you kidding me? See, this is the thing. These people have no clue what it's like to be me and you. Yeah, his buddies are getting rich. Okay? And maybe even Barron Trump on the oil shit. But all these people, he's not going nowhere. Even if we get a Democratic Congress and Senate in the midterms, he ain't going nowhere. Because the people that put politicians into power are making way too much money off of him. A worthless green piece of fucking paper. We can print that all day long. But can you print food on your table when you need it? Can you print heat in your house when you need it? Can you print food for your children when they're starving? Print your medication? They can print money all day long as long as people think that's the only thing they need. Think of the stuff they can't print that you need. Everything's about to get really expensive, people like say. We're going to deal with hyperinflation. Gas has gone up here since the war started, and Trump's calling it a war now, so we can call it a war, even though it's not a legal war. But gas here has gone up $1.60. It was $2.49 when it started, and it's $4.09 now. So what's that, 65%? And I can't even imagine putting diesel in. That's $1 plus more. We live in little Nowheresville. I mean, what are they paying in California? They're not telling us what they're paying. What are they paying in Hawaii? You know, America, you're going to have to face the reality that the lifestyle that we live, that we have bowered against our unborn children, our unborn generations, so we can maintain our lifestyle, is starting to come crashing down. You know why? Because there's no money left anymore. You know, consumer debt is higher. It's over 31 trillion. Anyway, it's higher than what everything's worth in America. That means now all of America. Now I'm debt-free. Been debt-free for years. It's a wonderful life. Okay, you don't have to chase that dollar. But so if we don't even have enough, if we sold everything, everybody gave all their wages, and we still couldn't pay everything off, where's all this money coming from that they're borrowing to people to pay interest on? Where's it? They're just printing it. I mean, and like I say, it's 31 trillion plus that the consumer's in. That's not talking the trillions, almost 40 trillion the government's in. All this is going to come to haunt us. I mean, if you don't pay your bills in your household, or you're living, 50% over your income, you have a stressful life. And we have allowed our government to get completely out of control financially. And now militarily, and it's all going to come together to collapse the system. The only thing that has kept our dollar strong in the world reserve currency is our military. Okay, and and oil being traded under dollars. But now Iran's making a mockery of our military. No matter what our country's saying, we can't open the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, how long have we been hearing that the Strait of Hormuz is open? Oh, it's open. Oh, it's closed. Oh, it's open. Oh, we're going to start another blockade. I mean, if you can't even do that simple little task, and we can't. The reason we could keep it open in 1987 is because Iran didn't have the military they have now. They dropped some mines, had a little shenanigans back and forth, picked up their mines, and that was the end of it. But, now they got they just can blow the shit out of our ships if we get too close to the shore. And then you don't hear, there's so much uncertainty in the world. We hear two different versions of the same story every day about, Iran says something, America says something, they never, the fog of war, if you want to call it like that, or somebody's not admitting the truth, about Iran shot at our ships and hit our ships and all this stuff. It's like you got two different wars going on. Trump says they're talking, they almost got a peace deal, and Iran saying, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. He talking to us. I mean, we don't know what the hell's going on. Anyway, but all this is going to lead to us being a third world country. I mean, the Middle East is going to have to realize that if they want to go into the 21st century stay strong in the 21st century, they ain't going to stay with weak America. I hate saying that. But because our politicians have robbed us, American citizens, fucking blind, and tried to change our culture with this twisted liberal mindset, Our politicians have made us because they are weak beta males and females. We are a weak nation. And we're falling. Every empire falls. Okay, hopefully we can fall without nuclear weapons blowing our cities up. I don't know. But, when we become a third world country with the nuclear arsenal we have, that's when things really could get dangerous. So, Americans just aren't ready to deal with third world conditions. Okay, like I say, Somalia, it's a terrible place, absolute terrible place. Starving kids. I mean, you can sit there and see them on commercials and stuff or on TV. Go see them in real life. It's way different. The whole spectrum. I just don't have 10 in front of me. I have 200 of them. Money, one MRE, just for something to eat. I mean, what do you think our country's going to look like? We become a third world country. One thing third world countries do not have is social programs because they can't afford them. I mean, we don't have soup kitchen lines like we did during the Great Depression because we got food stamps. What happens when 70 million Americans there's no food stamps, there's no medical insurance, there's no Section 8 housing, there's nothing. And then we got 70 million foreigners in here in this country taking jobs that these Americans are going to want. But remember what Trump said? Our children are not capable of doing entry-level jobs. But Baron Trump's capable of making 150 million, in the last 2 months? Anyway, and then one thing about being a third world country, the problems we aren't going to solve, all the illegal immigrants are going to go away because our money ain't worth nothing, and we ain't going to have to deal with scammers. Do you think Zimbabwe deals with scammers? So, it'll solve a couple problems. But people that have skills and can survive on their own and are independent and have never been dependent on the system, it'll be a little hiccup in their life, but they're going to fear, they're going to do a lot better than the person that's been dependent on the taxpayer all these years. Okay? Tom, let me ask you, Trump said we have all the oil we need. Where does it get refined? They giving it to us. Yeah, you know why? America's exporting a lot of our oil now, right? Because what you see for oil futures, that's not what they're paying for a barrel of oil. And I knew this was going to happen. I made a video about this. Do you think our oil companies in this country are going to keep the oil in this country and take a loss when they can sell it overseas and get more? I mean, they're like our politicians. They don't give a shit about us. And it's Venezuela shit. So we're going to, Venezuela oil is dirty. And our oil companies have already told Trump it's going to cost a lot to refurbish it. But we're going to steal oil from another country? And he's been releasing oil from the strategic reserves. Right now is not the time to release oil from the strategic reserves to keep the price fucking down. I always say, maybe if oil actually hit $200 a barrel and the rest of the leaders of the world finally looked at Trump and say, you either knock it the fuck off or we're all coming at you. Our people are starving. All this other shit, we're done with you. United States, go the fuck home. He's threatened NATO. Germany, we're going to take 5,000 troops out of your country. And Germany By the time this is all over, we're going to be kicked out of every fucking country. We're going to go to war with all the countries that we have bases with because we're getting kicked the fuck out. And once one does it, it'll be a domino effect. They'll all just start, hell, we set a precedent. The U.S. is gone. Our hominidity, whatever, you know what I'm saying. There's a couple ways. I can't say that word right now. But homogeny or whatever is over. We are not going to rule the world like we wanted to. Because we elected weak politicians. See, the thing is, why we're not going to rule the world no more? Because unlike Teddy Roosevelt that said, speak softly and carry a big stick, that's how powerful, respectful people stay on top. No, Trump was, swing the big stick as hard as you can while you're threatening everybody. Okay? And that's where we're at. One thing about Americans, after they go through with what we're going to experience, like I say, if you're an EBT queen or if you're on the government assistance, it's going to be gone. And you're not only talking that when the credit, okay, America lives on credit, okay? You would all agree with that, right? There's a few of us cash people out there, but America lives on credit, from the American to the business that has to get credit to buy their inventory, to pay their employees. What happens when the credit markets dry up? And the first thing, these trucking companies that have they've got a credit line for their fuel, what happens when they no longer have that? Our days of excess are over. They're coming to an end. If you can't see that, you know, there's people that see it. What is that? People that can't see it, people that don't want to see it, and people that see it prepare. You see all the signs. It's not your fault. It is our fault our country's going down the tubes. You know, when they made being patriotic basically a bad thing, something you should sit there and shun, being a patriot, standing up for our Constitution. You know, and sitting there shooting, their government shooting people down in the snow like Lavoy Finnegan. Or how many people were shot by the ATF and FBI during Biden's reign. Okay, it happens during Democrats, that Democrats like shooting American citizens down who stand up for their rights. A shit show has been caused by Trump to make money for himself. And this is what we're going to sit there, and the world's going to blow up because some dumbass lunatic retards want to get rich, not realizing, can't think past the point that when the world's a glowing ember, your money ain't going to be worth anything. God. I mean, all these people that are loyal to these elites, you know, these, I call alpha males that are beta bitches. What are they going to do when their loyalty is, they can't pay them no more? I mean, their only control. Warren Buffett said, if he didn't have money in the animal kingdom, he'd have been. What are you going to happen when the world actually becomes the animal kingdom and it's natural selection? And you got people like Alex Soros. Okay? I'm just saying. So, anyway. But, you know, it's a bad time. Like I say, that video that I did about, look at it. I did it on Saturday. Beautiful day out. No tractors in the field. No crops being planted. Nothing. They should have been in the ground already. They should be all sprouting, growing. Nothing in this winter wheat here we got. It's done. The stuff isn't even a foot tall yet, and it's starting to head out already, okay? This wheat is toast. It's garbage. Done. And they want to sit there, and YouTube wants to hide that. Don't want people to see, this is on the ground reconnaissance in farming community. Hey, look at what the hell's going on. And that's why they want to hide this financial shit. And the thing is, you know how they're hiding it? With your tax dollars, okay? The rich ain't using their money for these scams to sit there and keep oil down and gold and silver down. No, they're using your money to do it. They're using your money to sit there with the repo markets and to sit there and give, Wall Street a boost. They're using your money, not their money. But pretty soon, we ain't gonna have any money. Like I say, you better learn to survive on your own, because all these social programs, they'll be going bye-bye. If it goes to Trump with whether he's going to sit there and increase the military budget by another $1 trillion next year, and he's just got to get rid of welfare, social services will be gone. Anyway, what do? Yeah, I know. I did a video back on my other channel a long time ago about defunding the government. This is when they were screaming about defunding the police. Why don't we just defund the government? Because Americans will never get together and do it. And too many people are dependent on the government for existence in some shape, way, or form. Okay? As long as you can keep over 80% of the population dependent on the government in some shape, way, or form, you'll never have the 20% it takes to chart a new course for your country. Anyway, the interest on the debt. Okay, I remember, see, I'm an old guy, right? I remember on the news when Ronald Reagan, when this country went $1 trillion in debt. I believe it was 1983. I don't remember if it was October 16th or October 22nd or 23rd. But in 1983 in October, the United States went over $1 trillion in debt. And you would not believe what was on the news. How this country's going down. We can never pay it back. We can't even pay the interest on it. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, and Ronald Reagan was in office. A Republican. Okay? But supposedly, anyway. But I remember all that. Okay, so you're talking 1983 to 2026, which is 43 years. So in 43 years, we've added $39 trillion of debt, which took us, 194 years, because our government started in 1789. So 194 years. $1 trillion. And then 43 years later, we're at almost 40 trillion. I mean, does that put anything in perspective for you? And then look at the cost of everything that's gone up. I mean, these younger generation look at us boomers like, oh, you guys had it made and shit. We all worked our asses off. There were guys that had families that weren't even making $5 a fucking hour, and they were able to make it. You know why? Because a dollar was still worth something. Now it's no longer worth anything. So guess what? I have to see my kids, who have their own children now, work their asses off, work longer hours. They get paid more money, but they have less money than their mom and I did. And I'm getting sick of it. And your younger generation has ideas to get mad at us. Well, we're the parents and the grandparents of you, seeing you guys suffer. What parent likes to see their kids suffer? But then again, we got a lot of parents that ain't willing to do anything. We do got the ones that go to school board meetings. holler and scream and get kicked out of them. It's just what happens in this country now. If you stand up for what's right and try to inform other people, especially tell the elites that, hey, I know what you're doing, they silence you. And now they got the social media execs and all their little algorithms fucking doing it to us. We're in the world of hurt, people. Like I say, Russia, yeah, they'll sell their oil now in Chinese yen. So that means all that money that Russia had in dollars so they could sit there and trade oil is now coming back to the United States. Plus, I heard that Japan, and then China's not buying our debt no more. They're selling our debt. And Japan looks like they may have to save their economy, sell some of the debt they have of ours. So, we can't sell our debt, so what's the Federal Reserve buys it. Okay? But anyway, things are going to get rough, people. We are going to be a third world country. But maybe out of this, we'll learn our lesson so that future generations, until they get stupid and lazy and spoiled, but for a few generations, they'll get to pursue their happiness and be successful. Anyway, God will still be with us through all this. I know He's with us, but you know what? He's going to let us teach ourselves a lesson. Okay? I mean, how pissed off do you think He is every day when He's got to watch the news about what the fuck we're doing? Do you ever think of that? But anyway, that's all I got for tonight. I do appreciate everybody being here. Please hit the thumbs up to subscribe and the bell notification. Like I say, I think we already are a third world country town. The thing is, if you've been to places in this country, yes, we are a third world country. You've been to some Indian reservations, okay? Even today, we have, like the Deep South, in poorer areas, because you don't have no industry there. Now, I live in an isolated area. We don't have Starbucks or Walmart, none of that shit. Small county. But it's not that depressed, you know what I'm saying? There's areas that are actually third world country that are depressed in this country. And the thing is, social services hasn't fixed it now, has it? Investing in that area and putting those people to work, making money, feeling good about themselves, raising families, that's what will make them successful. Not a fucking government check every month. Okay? When people become responsible for themselves, all of a sudden, they become successful. Anyway, maybe I should make that a short, huh? When you finally become responsible for yourself, you'll finally become successful. And that successful don't mean financially. That's one thing we got to get to. We were growing up, and then we were told if you want something, you got to earn it. Okay? Chase what makes you happy, and the money will come. But money doesn't make you happy. This is what we were taught. Everybody's dream back when I was getting a kid, I never even heard one say that, was to be a millionaire. You want to be an astronaut. You want to be a dancer. You want to be an engineer. I want to be a Marine. Nobody ever said, I want to be a millionaire when I'm 21. Because we all know that would have been absolutely unrealistic. Anyway, we can all change this. The Founding Fathers gave us through the authority and the tools to solve this problem. And all these people, I made it short, all these people that say we can't do nothing, we got to just accept what they're doing, nothing you can do to change it. When you have that attitude, that gives the government the ability to do anything they want to you. And that's just a sad truth. Okay? I'm not asking everybody to be a crazed Marine like me. You didn't take that oath, but I did. And our country's going down the tubes. And our federal government is not only causing problems for us, but is definitely causing problems all over the world. There's no reason why somebody in Tehran, the average guy who goes to work every day and takes care of his family, should have to worry about what happens in Washington, D.C. He shouldn't have to worry about it. But around the world, there's a lot of average people that got to worry more about what happens in D.C. than in their country. That's not what our founding fathers had in mind. It's not. Anyway, I appreciate everybody being here. Please hit the thumbs up to subscribe and bell notification. Check out my other content. I got well over 2,000 videos. I mean, YouTube has got so asshole-ish with me. They won't even show me how many videos I have on YouTube now. Last thing it was over 2,000, and they won't even have the count on there no more. Over 2,000 videos in a year and a half. This is what happens when the country is messed up as it is. A jarhead from the Reagan era has to get on YouTube and start giving his opinion. Okay? That's how messed up things are. It sure ain't the way I grew up or even the 90s. I mean, we had the first Gulf War, but after that, it's the economy, stupid. Anyway, people didn't suffer like they were suffering now. So, anyway, but like I say, I appreciate everybody being here. And like you say, check out my content. And if you hit one of the shorts that hits a nerve, I'll sit there and tell my shorts to people, right? And it's just me talking into my phone with a quick 5 to 10 second, blurt, a few words, right? And I'll get people that will get defensive about it. Like my friend, he's one of these that feels we can't do nothing. And I said, if you're not willing to stand up for what's right, you're willing to give in to what's wrong. And automatically he's like, I'll show you. I said, I wasn't directing at you. But if that's the reaction you get from it, the easiest way to start fixing our country is to look in the mirror and fix that person first. And when you get older and you've gone through the trials of life and realize that, a lot of the hardships you had in your life is because you made a lot of stupid fucking mistakes. When you face up to your demons and stuff, when you can take care of yourself, I say this in prepping, when you can finally take care of yourself for whatever, then you can worry about taking care of the neighbors. Okay? When you can clean yourself up, then, and it's not like preaching to somebody. All you do is be a good person. Be a good person. Just by example. You don't even have to say anything. Work hard. Be courteous, okay? Without even saying anything. And people will notice that a lot more. The silence and the reaction they get from what you did. Then you try to explain how great you are. And why they need to believe your way, okay? People emulate greatness, okay? They don't want to be preached to about what greatness is. Especially by somebody who ain't great. Anyway, I appreciate everybody being here, and we'll see what the next subject is, but I tell you what, this, the news is like getting, what do you believe, okay? Like I say, I live just a few miles from the missile silos. I guess when they start going up, I guess it's going to be a bad day. Remember in Germany, you got our politicians tell us everything's great, we're winning, da-da-da-da-da. We're winning, America's so successful. Remember, Hitler was saying that. The Germans were saying that till May 8th, 1945, till the day they surrendered. Because Germans thought they were still going to win. Just the truth, people, just the truth. And we got some people in here that, in this country, that believe the hype. Anyway, appreciate everybody being here, and I'll see you on the next live stream. This is Tom with Hidden Truths. I'm out of here.